Hello there. Tonight we're talking about immigration, specifically the wild patchwork of state-level laws in the United States. You might think immigration is a federal issue, but once inside the country, your daily life can change dramatically depending on which state you're in. Some states are welcoming, but others have made life for immigrants a bureaucratic nightmare. So tonight, we're taking a road trip through the top 10 states that have turned life as an immigrant into an extreme sport. We'll look at the laws, the policies, and the real-world consequences for people just trying to build a life. Buckle up. This journey is going to be bumpy, frustrating, and might make you want to scream into a pillow. Let's begin. First stop, Alabama, home of the infamous HB 56 law. Passed in 2011, it was a legislative go-away sign, requiring police to check immigration status on a whim and even criminalizing giving undocumented people a ride. Schools had to check kids' immigration status, so cruel that federal courts had to intervene. Though many parts of HB 56 have been blocked, its legacy lingers, a climate of fear and isolation for immigrants. People became afraid to report crimes, seek medical care, or even drive. Alabama still denies driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants, making daily life a gamble. The law forced impossible choices: break the law to survive, or stay home and risk everything. HB 56 became a blueprint for other states, even as its harshest measures fell apart in court. Its message remains: for many immigrants, just getting through the day in Alabama takes courage most of us can't imagine. It's less Sweet Home Alabama and more anxiously peeking through the blinds Alabama. Arizona, stunning landscapes, and for years, stunningly harsh immigration laws. SB 1070, passed in 2010, made "Show me your papers" a national catchphrase. Police were required to check immigration status on reasonable suspicion, a recipe for racial profiling. Every police stop became a potential immigration investigation, sowing fear and distrust. The Supreme Court struck down parts of SB 1070, but the damage was done. Arizona became a symbol of hostility toward immigrants. The state still denies driver's licenses to DACA recipients and undocumented residents, making travel risky. The rhetoric behind SB 1070 hasn't disappeared, it's just evolved. Arizona remains a flashpoint in the immigration debate, where state and federal lines blur and immigrants are caught in the crossfire. For many, Arizona's beauty is overshadowed by fear. The legacy of SB 1070 persists, shaping daily life and policy. It's a place where being brown can make you a suspect. Next up, Georgia, famous for peaches and since 2011 for HB 87, its own harsh immigration law. Police can check immigration status, and even giving a friend a ride can be criminalized. The law hit Georgia's farms hard. Workers fled, crops rotted, and the state learned the hard way that cracking down on immigrants hurts everyone. Businesses must use E-Verify, but errors can block legal workers from jobs. Georgia denies driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants and bars DACA recipients from in-state tuition. The message: you can grow up here, but we won't help you build a future. HB 87 didn't solve problems, it just created new ones. The state's posture remains unwelcoming, capping potential and stifling dreams. In Georgia, being tough on immigration means making life harder for everyone. Texas, where immigration policy is part political theater, part legal experiment. Operation Lone Star has sent National Guard and troopers to the border, arresting migrants on trespassing charges and creating a parallel legal system. Razor wire and floating barriers along the Rio Grande have injured asylum seekers and drawn international condemnation. Texas buses migrants to northern cities, often without warning or support, a political stunt using real people. For immigrants, travel in Texas means constant anxiety, racial profiling, heavy law enforcement, and the looming threat of SB 4, which would let police arrest suspected border crossers. Texas denies driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants, making daily life a risk. The state's approach is a contest of cruelty, with devastating consequences for those caught in the middle. The border debate here is less about solutions and more about spectacle. Texas keeps raising the stakes, and immigrants pay the price. It's a state where the law is always shifting and always threatening. Florida, sunny beaches, but a dark turn in immigration policy. SB 1718, passed in 2023, touches every part of immigrant life. Mandatory E-Verify for many businesses, hospitals asking about immigration status, and millions spent on migrant relocation. The law invalidates out-of-state driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants, making it a crime to drive in Florida even if you're legal elsewhere. Transporting an undocumented person into Florida is now a felony, putting families and church groups at risk. The result? Fear, confusion, and a mass exodus of workers from farms and construction sites. Florida's goal is clear: make life so unbearable that people leave on their own. The law weaponizes daily life, driving, working, even going to the doctor. It's a deliberate attempt to force self-deportation by destroying communities. The impact is immediate and severe. People are afraid to drive, work, or seek help. Florida has become one of the most unwelcoming states for immigrants. The sunshine hides a climate of fear. Mississippi doesn't make headlines, but its quiet hostility is just as effective. No driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants, an enormous barrier in a rural state with little public transit. The state mandates E-Verify for all employers, pushing many immigrants into the shadows where exploitation is rampant. The legislature consistently takes a hardline stance, proposing bills to block sanctuary cities and limit education access. The result? Isolation, vulnerability, and a lack of support for immigrant communities. In Mississippi, the challenge isn't one big law, it's 1,000 small cuts. Immigrants face daily uphill battles just to survive. Here, exclusion is quiet but relentless. South Carolina followed the Arizona playbook with its 2011 immigration law, S-20. Police can check immigration status on a whim, fueling racial profiling and fear. All businesses must use E-Verify, and undocumented immigrants can't get driver's licenses. The law criminalizes basic survival: working, driving, even helping others. Penalties for fake IDs and transporting undocumented people turn desperation into a felony. The result? Distrust, poverty, and a system designed to squeeze people out. Some extreme elements were challenged in court, but the core remains. Immigrants face constant hurdles and a climate of suspicion. In South Carolina, resilience is a daily necessity. North Carolina's restrictions are built piece by piece, a slow construction of barriers. No driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants, and for a time, DACA recipients got licenses marked with a pink stripe. HB 318 bans sanctuary policies and invalidates community ID cards, undermining local efforts to build trust. Sheriffs who resist ICE face state pressure, creating a patchwork of risk depending on your county. E-Verify is required for government agencies and contractors, pushing many into the informal economy. Exploitation and wage theft are common, and the state government seems determined to keep immigrant lives precarious. North Carolina's approach is a grinding war of attrition. Here, the obstacles never stop coming. Tennessee's message is clear: some volunteers aren't welcome. A 2018 law forces local police to comply with ICE detainers, even if it means violating constitutional rights. Sanctuary policies are banned, with funding threats for non-compliance. No driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants, making work, family, and community life nearly impossible. The state bars undocumented students from in-state tuition, shutting the door on higher education. Every drive is a risk, every police car a threat. Tennessee's hostility is comprehensive, leaving little room for hope. Here, exclusion is policy. Virginia was once a rare bright spot, allowing undocumented residents to get driver privilege cards in 2020. But a new administration quickly shifted gears, targeting immigrant rights and stoking fear. The driver card law remains, but efforts to repeal it and pass anti-sanctuary laws are constant threats. Even the debate creates anxiety. Progress here is fragile and always at risk. The state cut ties with charities helping migrant children, signaling a harsher stance. For immigrants, the right to drive brought hope, but now uncertainty looms. In Virginia, every step forward is shadowed by the threat of 2 steps back. That's our 10-state tour of legislative hostility. From sweeping crackdowns to slow, grinding restrictions, the message is clear. These states have built walls, literal and legal, to make life harder for immigrants. The patchwork of laws creates confusion, fear, and hardship, hurting families, businesses, and communities. It's a self-inflicted wound, driven by politics, not compassion. The road ahead is uncertain, but understanding these issues is the first step. If this breakdown made you think, consider subscribing. Staying informed helps us keep shining a light on these stories. Thanks for watching.